everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Purpose and Profit Sisterhood. Now, we used to be called Bodacity Show, but we're switching to an external podcast. So it is the Purpose and Profit Sisterhood podcast. You can find us on Apple and Spotify and other wonderful platforms like that, as well as in the Purpose and Profit Sisterhood Facebook group, on LinkedIn, and pretty much everywhere that you can think of going. We're there. We're just everywhere. So today, I'm glad to have Stacey Ruth with me. Hi, Stacey. Welcome.
Hi, it's a real pleasure to be here with you.
All the way here from Atlanta. I love the power of Zoom and an international community. It's awesome. Today, we're going to be talking about how unstoppable leaders build unstoppable brands, which I think is going to be a fascinating topic. It's going to be a whirlwind of different kinds of ideas. So hang on, buckle in, here we go. But first, let me tell you a bit about Stacey. Stacey Ruth is unstoppable, which is really good. That's why she talks about it. She's working at the intersection of leadership, intuition, innovation, and personal branding. She's the founder and CEO of the Unstoppable Leader, a 30-year veteran entrepreneur. There's not many women that I come across who've been in business as long as me. She built two multimillion-dollar agencies, has been among the top 50 entrepreneurs under 50 in Atlanta, and twice awarded top 100 IT agencies by Experiential Marketer. Really cool. Today, she's also a licensed metaphysical minister and holds certifications in executive leadership coaching, neuroscience, and positive psychology. Her award-winning best-selling books, Own Your Own Shift and Inside Out Smart, are available now on Amazon. So I love all of that. I want to dive down into all of those things deeper. Maybe we'll do that afterwards. But let me just find out first a little bit more about you. So tell us what people wouldn't guess about you by reading your website or hearing your bio. What's something, and the juicier the better. You get points for being really juicy, whatever that may be for you. So tell us something about you people wouldn't guess.
Well, I think that people wouldn't guess that, and I don't know how this goes on the juicy scale, but what a language nerd I am. I have studied German. I have studied Spanish. I tried studying Greek. I think I'm going to give that one a back seat a little bit, but I love when I travel. Yeah. I love to really immerse myself in the language and not just show up as an American tourist, but actually show up and some of the experiences that I've gotten as a result of that, I guarantee I would not have without having that love of language.
Yes, yes. I love it. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I'm not quite as nerdy on the spectrum, but because like really truly the only Greek word I remember is epharistu, and I probably butchered that one. But working on Spanish because I love me some Latin culture, and it's very interesting because I've traveled through Central and South America. If you go to Portuguese-speaking country like Brazil or Portugal, they will not tolerate bad Spanish, or they'll just pretend they don't know what you're saying. So working on getting both Spain Spanish and Latin American Spanish, because they're very different. So I also appreciate that love of language. And you're right, it makes a different cultural experience when you actually immerse yourself more in the culture and the language and make the effort to connect, right? So speaking
even in the United States, really quickly, because I know we have really limited time, but my husband and I were sitting at dinner in this beautiful restaurant in New York City, and next to us was a couple from Germany, and they were actually having some challenges trying to figure something out. And so because I spoke German, I was able to just lean over, help them out. And it was just a beautiful, to your point, connecting experience just because of having the ability to have the language.
Exactly. And it really does make us more global because you think differently in other languages too. And it really does allow you to connect with people everywhere and anywhere and be of service in new and different ways.
Exactly.
So cool. Love that. Okay, so that's one form of leadership, is being a leader who actually likes to connect. But let's talk, before we launch into your topic, a little bit about why you care so much about this topic, about being an unstoppable leader
Mhm.
and about unstoppable brands. But really, how did you get into the work you do and have done for 30 years? You must have a pretty abiding passion and purpose. So tell us what that is.
Well, I actually will kind of take a step back and say the work I'm doing now has evolved.
Mm.
It is not the work that I started back in 1997 in my agency. And I was a woman leading an agency at a time when it was mostly male dominated.
Mhm.
Most of the clients were men, and most of the people doing my work were men.
Mhm.
Also, leadership as a science was a little baby
Mhm.
science. And I learned most of my leadership and most of my ability to run a business by making mistakes, by trying to read voraciously. But there weren't, coaches, there weren't all of these people who could lean in and give you a TED talk, right?
Yeah.
Or who could help you along the way. And so my passion for helping, especially women, especially women business owners, is because I'm really helping the younger me. I'm
Mhm.
really helping that person who didn't have that
Mhm.
to lean in and reach back and help pull somebody else forward. I mean, that's what lights me up. And I'll tell you what else. We have a huge leadership gap
Mhm.
in every area of our society, whether you're talking politics, business, you name it,
Mhm.
and it needs to be corrected
Mhm.
because leadership is what moves people forward,
Yeah.
as well as it's small business that really drives our economy. And small business, which is mostly women right now, are starting new businesses, like 80%. And 80% of small businesses are crashing and burning in under 2 years. And I will not stand for that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I knew we had some in common, but I didn't realize we had as much in common, because really, truly, Bodacity's intention and purpose is to reinvent the patriarchy, and to do that by supporting women and stepping into their power and build effective businesses. Because if we shift business, we shift life, because how our economy goes is where people step up in leadership and lead in a different way, a different direction. So I love that stand, love that intention. And I think everybody who's been in business for a while, it's evolved. And so what I call that is our stand is our current expression of our why. I think the why is pretty consistent, a tapestry or a thread that weaves through the tapestry of our lives.
Yes.
Why we care is the same, but how we express it, how we put it in the world changes. Our stand changes. So your stand has evolved numerous times over the years, as mine has. I've had 4 iterations of my marketing company, including an advertising agency. So, yeah, I I just, when I saw that, I was like, oh, girlfriend, you clearly have a high tolerance for pain. So let's
Maybe
talk
so.
let's talk about your magic 3 of unstoppability, because I think being unstoppable is really important. So first of all, what would you define unstoppable as? And then let's talk about your 3 ways of doing that.
Well, whatever we set our minds to, whatever we set our hearts to, I think the more heartfelt and passionate we are about something, the more opportunity there is for life to throw us curveballs, redirect. And so when I think about unstoppability, I really think of showing up
Mhm.
more like water than a sledgehammer. So if life throws me a curveball, I'm going to look for ways to go over, around, just stay on course, even though I'm going to do a slight redirect
Mhm.
in order to keep moving, because water is so fluid, so dynamic, and so much stronger than the obstacles that are in its path. And so we're really talking about resilience. We're really talking about adaptability when we talk about unstoppability. It's not powering through, it's knowing that there is no other way to go.
Oh, love that. Love that. Love that. And the whole time you were talking, I was seeing images of the Grand Canyon in my head, where I did 4 times. It is an incredible testament to unstoppability. to little
Correct.
drops of water adding up to a flow that was unstoppable and created incredible depth, an incredibly deep result and
And
beautiful.
beauty, and
Yeah,
beauty. Yes.
exactly. So I think that's a great metaphor, and I love that versus the sledgehammer. And it's not the power over; it's just being adaptable and
Yeah, it's not destructive, but think about how much we need that adaptability and that uh, ability to just move through fluidly, resiliency,
resilient.
especially given what we've just been through, with all of the COVID and all of the restructuring and reorganizing and everything that it's like it seems to be moving faster, right? There's nothing we've needed more now.
Right. Well, and I know there's a lot of components to leadership, to unstoppability, but there's three that you've really identified as important. So personal values, brand personality, and dealing with customer objections. So let's talk about those three a little bit more, dive deeper into them. So personal values, how does that relate to being an unstoppable leader?
Well, I'll give you a spoiler alert. In all three of those, there is something very essential that we must have, and that's self-awareness. And, I think it's something like 95%, if I've got my facts right, of us believe that we're self-aware.
Mm.
And in tests that they've done on self-awareness, they find that, well, actually, it's more like 15% of us are actually self-aware, that we understand how we're making our decisions and we understand what's driving our choices and our actions. And so the idea of personal values requires us to become self-aware. What is really motivating us? And, a lot of people will choose personal values that they think they should choose, which is a little dangerous, because then you're not really authentic. You're trying to fit a mold of somebody else's expectations. Like, I should choose family because I'm supposed to be family oriented, and I'm over here working 24/7. So maybe family's not really my value, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important to understand what really drives you and what really motivates you and lights you up and is intrinsic to your personality.
Mm.
And that takes a little bit of self-awareness. And that is something that, I certainly do a lot of work with people, whether I'm coaching them as a leader or I'm coaching them to build a business, is the leader's personal values
Mhm.
influence heavily a business's personal value or a business's values
Yeah.
system,
Yeah.
and attracts customers who have the same values. It's a domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you're right. A lot of people, I love the stats about the self-awareness, because I haven't actually heard that, but I would love to read that study because I think it's certainly my
Mhm.
experience. Um, how do people, because I know a lot of people will identify, myself included in the past, identify values, maybe put them on our business, site about these are the values of the company, etc.
Mhm.
But really, in terms of living into them day to day, that's
Mhm.
not something that's often top of mind. So how do you advocate people use values to help them make better decisions?
Well, truthfully, we can run up against decisions all the time where we think we need to do something again in order to please someone. We're always looking, well, I'm not sure everyone is, but I sure know a lot of people that are looking for the right decision.
Mhm.
Of course, there's plenty of possible decisions. And then there's that decision where you just don't have a lot of information and you're not certain. What if I make a mistake, right? So in all of those scenarios, the important thing to do is run it through the matrix of how many of my values does this decision check?
Mhm.
So if my values, and they are creativity, adventure, and boldness, and curiosity.
Mhm.
I had to think about that last one, didn't I? And I don't recommend that people do more than 4 for exactly what just happened with me, is to remember them. So run them through that gauntlet and say, is this checking all these boxes?
Mhm.
And if it is checking all the values boxes, you're probably in good shape to move forward with that decision. Not that You're not going to have a learning experience out of it, but you'll feel more confident about that decision and that it is moving you forward, because that's what values really do. They really move you forward. They're not static, and they do change. My values from when I was 20 to now when I'm 50 is they're different, right? And I do encourage people to run a little bit of a values audit every year and see, am I still living this value?
Right. Is there a value tool or site or resource that you advocate people use to help them identify their values? Because there's so many things that we could, right?
Well, absolutely. Now, I'll put a shameless plug if you're okay with it. I actually have a free values assessment worksheet on my site, unstoppable-leader.com, under the tools tab. And it will walk you through some of the really key exercises to help you hone in on your values. And it throws in 300 values words that you can take a look at. They're not even all inclusive, but, you know, to kind of help you move in that direction. And it helps you look at where you're spending your time. Where would you like to be spending your time? Because if there's a dissonance between those two, you actually can live into a value you aspire to when you're doing it with self-awareness and conscious choice.
I love it. I just put it into the chat. And let's so go and get that checklist and really just see what those are, but more significantly, how do you apply them to making decisions, to how you show up day to day, to what you're doing in your business and your business's positioning. So let's talk about that transition. How do we apply it to the business so that it imbues the branding? How does it live in our branding?
Well, you know, it's really interesting because almost inevitably, the values words that we come up with are little breadcrumb clues to what our brand personality is and what our brand archetype is. And that's not something you make up. That's who you are. That's how you show up. And it's also no coincidence that it's also how the people who are attracted to your brand, your clients, your customers, are going to show up and what they're looking for in a brand, right? So think about the brand personality of, say, well, I'm a coffee fiend, Dunkin' Donuts. And their coffee brand versus Starbucks and their coffee brand. And you know, the big battle between, you know, Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, right? Well, they have different brand personalities and different brand archetypes. They're still selling coffee, right? And those are the things that really differentiate us. So if you are, let's say there's actually 5 brand personalities: sincere, excitement, rugged, sophistication, and competent, in no particular order.
Okay, say them again. So, because it's just excitement.
Sincere, in no particular order. Competent, excitement, sophistication, and rugged.
Okay, love it. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about what you mean by archetypes and how those play in the business. Because
well, those are actually the brand personalities. There's 12 archetypes. We don't have time for them, but take, for example, a sincere brand. Well, actually, no. Tell me what a values word for you would be.
For me, adventure. Yeah, adventure.
Okay.
Well, actually, the word would be freedom, which leads to adventure.
Okay, freedom. All right, so that word is one of the words that's associated with the rugged brand. Okay. It also can be associated with the excitement brand, depending on how you view it. Now, examples of a rugged brand would be Patagonia, right? REI, Jeep. Right? Think about how they go out in their adventure into the natural, free environment, right? So you see how that works. Yes. So how your values words are imbued into that brand personality and vice versa. And so when you show up living your values, you're also living into your brand personality. And that is very attractive to your clients, your ideal clients, who also have a similar brand personality.
Exactly. And similar values. And so that gets expressed. I often talk about it in terms of our why, but our why needs to include and envelop, and does automatically, those values, those things that are important to us, because that's why we do what we do.
It is why we do what we do. And I want to put one little disclaimer on that is you're never one personality. You're never one dimensional. So for example, I also have some rugged brand adventure, right? But I also have, with the creativity, I have a sophistication brand and an excitement brand. So we have dimensions to it. It has to do with how much of which one.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So nobody is one dimensional.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so how do you use that brand to attract more of the right opportunities?
Well, to know it, right? Self-awareness, to express it. And you can express it with your colors, your fonts. You can express it with your talking points. Let's suppose that you're a personal brand and you don't have colors and fonts for your executive brand, right? So you can express it with your talking points. You can express it with your goals, your aspirations, the direction that you're headed strategically. Where do you want to be? Right? So all of those ways of expressing it are going to resonate with the people who can A, use whatever service or product you're offering, or B, can help facilitate your next iteration in your career arc.
Absolutely. And I think I've had a few people, quite a few actually, on about branding, and there's always different kinds of takes on it and access points to it.
Correct.
One of the things that I think people really struggle with, especially entrepreneurs, and especially I would hesitate to say female entrepreneurs, is often confusing brand with image, or with with the look and feel, as opposed to it being more about what I would call a zeitgeist, or a way of being. And so how can you kind of link leadership more with brand, and how does that live in terms of us being a leader? How do we be the brand more?
Oh, well, the funny thing is you kind of can't avoid it. The key is to do it intentionally with awareness. Every leader is a brand. Now, are the leaders intentionally creating their personal brand, or I should say, accentuating their personal brand, doubling down on their personality and their values and their vision for their goals and their objectives? Or are they accidentally stumbling into it, and maybe it might come out effectively or maybe not? Or worse, if somebody has a personal brand but they feel that it's not effective, and so they decide to try to create an inauthentic brand to appeal to what they believe somebody else wants of them, it will always fall flat. It is the worst misuse of a brand possible, right? So leaders are brands, and brands can be thought leaders, right? But they all start with self-awareness. They all start with personal values. Those are key. And what I say, if I'm not a business brand, if I'm not a product or a service, but I am an executive in an organization and I sit down at the board meeting table, I still have my brand to bring to the conversation. If I'm bold and curious, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to challenge the bias of status quo in order to promote my own brand. And if that doesn't fit the organizational culture, that will become readily available. And I know that I need a different organizational culture.
Exactly. Or different clients or prospects, if it doesn't fit with those and prospects. If your style as a coach or a healing practitioner or a speaker, whatever it is not in alignment with your audience, then you've either got the wrong audience or you're wearing that mask trying to fit in and bring something that's not authentic. That's why it's not authentic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I struggled with that initially when I moved into speaking to audiences about intuition, which is a scientifically proven thing. It's not a woo-woo thing. But a lot of audiences didn't understand that. They thought intuition was just this, airy-fairy thing, right? And so I had to double down on being very clear about which audiences I was speaking to and in the way I was speaking to them. And still some audiences were like, no, I'm sorry, that's too out there for me.
Yes. Well,
That's
and
not a business topic.
exactly. And we have to bring that same intentionality to our marketing copy, to our positioning in our website, to who we're talking to and audiences we're engaging with. It's filters through all of our strategy and what we're doing. So speaking of kind of filtering through every aspect of what we do, it also shows up in sales and dealing with clients or prospects who you want to become clients. There's often objections, there's often confusion, often not understanding either on our side or their side. So let's talk about turning those customer objections into what you call marketing magnets. What does that mean?
Well, it does happen over time. Yeah, if you are launching and you're day one, you may not be aware of all of the objections that potential clients and customers could have to, say, using you for coaching. And yet, as you have these conversations, they're going to start to come up. You're going to start to understand. Now, I invite my clients, you probably do the same with yours, to talk to people they think might be in their client demographic, have a conversation with them. This is not a sales call. Let's find out, what kind of resistances come up to this for you. And you'll start to get some of those objections. Okay. I help clients build their talking points. You probably do the same. Talking points are not just about all the great things about what it is that I offer. They're not just about building your values and growing your business and all of those great things. They're also about those nagging doubts that you have about whether this will work. And it's an opportunity in your social media. It's an opportunity in your networking conversations. It's an opportunity in your blogs or whatever you're doing, podcasts, there you go, in your podcasts, to address those objections head on. And if somebody says, I don't think I can afford it, what they're often saying is, I don't believe that I will get a value that is equivalent to what I'm investing in it. So then you're able in your talking points to talk about the value and what that's really worth to the person who engages in it. And then they go, oh, I hadn't really thought about that. Maybe I should talk to her.
Right. So how do you link that to leadership? Because I have a big, belief that if we don't claim, own our value, then of course no one else will. So how does being an unstoppable leader show up when it comes to dealing with objections and showing up in sales and in service?
Well, often the leaders have a thought leadership position, and also they are the voice of their organization. And they also are really selling their internal employees should they have them. So there are many different kinds of sales conversations that they get to have, and different kinds of objections. When I was running my agency, sometimes the objections are to, this client wants too many different things. We're talking about the high tolerance for pain. This client wants too many different things. It's not going to work. Right. And so as an account representative for them, I get to say, all right, how can we coach them through what will work? How can we show them what might be better? and still address their concerns. Those kinds of conversations are very powerful for a leader to be able to have with their team, with their clients, and with the outside world. For instance, as a leader who often has people saying, help me with my website, right? I get to say, what are you trying to do with this website? And really dive deeper into the purpose behind it.
Right. Sorry, you froze a little bit there. So say that last line just a little bit again.
All right. So sometimes, individuals who say are starting a business will come and say, oh, help me with my website. Now they haven't done the values work. They haven't done the purpose work, right? They're not, I just need a website, right? And then magically I build it, they will come. So we get to look at what they really want that website to do for them. And sometimes more often than not, I tell them, A, wait, and B, you don't actually need a website right now. You need to get out there and have some conversations before you start putting up a website that you're going to have to redo later.
Exactly. See, I know you've been in business for quite a while because we have a very similar orientation and have dealt with a lot of people and have similar conversations with our clients, because so many people don't know what conversation they're having. And so they shouldn't build a website, and they don't know who they're talking to about what, in a way that really clarifies what's in it for them and the benefits. And that kind of work, the values work, understanding who you are as a leader, understanding that purpose and what motivates you, and really what's in it for your client, really helps with all three of the things we've been talking about.
Absolutely. And I want to be very clear. I know that you do some of this work, if not all of this work. And my intention here is to simply support and put in a vote for the validity of the work that you're doing. It is incredibly important. And I think the more voices that are bringing that forward, the better it is for the entire business community.
Absolutely. And I'm a big proponent of having people who do exactly what I do on the show, because we need to hear different voices saying things in different ways. Different people resonate with different people. So that's why
different brand personalities.
More than enough in the world. There's more than enough need. There's more than enough supply and demand. We just need to find the ones that fit. That's why it's like I have no problem with people who do exactly what I do. And in fact, the more the better, because we need lots of women being supported and stepping up and being the difference that they're here to be. And so I love that you are stand for that. I love that you've been doing it so passionately in so many ways for so long. So tell us just very quickly, how can people find out more about you, and what kind of work do you do with people?
Well, I certainly invite people to, go to my website, unstoppable-leader.com. There's lots of tools there. You'll get a good feel for a lot of the work that I'm doing. I speak, and, I'm on podcasts, and I'm writing books and all of that. So there's lots of great information that's available. Please check me out on social media, on Instagram, Stacey Ruth Says. Check me out on LinkedIn, Stacey Ruth. Check me out on Facebook, Stacey Ruth Says. Lots of great places to connect, and I would love to connect with you there and follow and all of that. And really, the work that I'm doing is I'm teaching in workshops, group workshops, helping leaders and high achieving or high profile individuals within an organization that are trying to move into leadership to be better leaders from out of the gate. I'm also definitely working on a consulting for business strategy, combined with the coaching for mindset that goes with really trying to start a business. I will tell you, whatever it says out there in social media, that it's just snap your fingers and you're a multi-figure, 6-7-figure business. Lean in. No, it's going to take work, and you need different people to help you do that.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen, sister. All right. So you have a gift for our listeners. So tell us about that.
Well, I am super excited that I am building a leadership online university. It's specifically designed for people who want to pick and choose their topics. And the first mini training has launched. It's brand mastery mini training. If you want to learn how to brand yourself, if you're a DIY gal, this one's for you. And for the viewers of this, I am offering it at no cost. I really would invite you to lean in, find out everything you can about how to build your brand with the brand mastery mini training.
I love that. Thank you very much for that generosity. And this is a $500 value, correct? Is that what I heard you say before? Okay.
Correct.
So I put the link in there. And so by all means, please go and get that, everybody. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift. Check out Stacey's website. There's lots of great resources on there. Connect with her on social media. And tell me, Stacey, what's one last thing you'd like to leave everyone with about being an unstoppable leader or any of the topics we've talked about?
Well, I would say this, no one can be just like you. And I think that there's so much competition and comparison. And well, maybe if I did what they did, then I would be successful. And I'm going to invite people to look in first at themselves and what really lights them up and makes them tick. And once you know who you are, you will be unstoppable.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And that's one of those mic drop moments if you really let it sink in. Once you know who you are, then you can be unstoppable. And we think we do, but really being with ourselves, really being present to what that means, who we are, what we're stand for, what matters to us, that will make you unstoppable. Not all the pushing and efforting and trying more. So thank you for that reminder. Appreciate that so much, Stacey. Thank you for being here and for your time. And everybody, please take some of these nuggets, apply them. It's not just about listening, it's about figuring out, how do I do that? How do I put it on my calendar and actually action it so that it can make a difference to your business, so that you can make a difference to more people in the world today. Thanks very much. Have a bodacious week, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.